What's up guys, it's Julian here, and this is Business Secrets, and with that said, let's get right into it. Now pretty much all of us fantasize about becoming rich and successful because how else are we going to afford all the toilet paper that we're going to need for the coming apocalypse? But unfortunately, not everyone is going to become rich and successful, and that's just the way that it is. But you might be one of the ones who do achieve what so many other people can only dream of, and they always say that success leaves clues. Now most people will never tell you that a large part of getting rich is actually luck, but there is also a kind of formula, and in the same way that you can predict how well a kid will do as an adult based on his IQ, you can also predict how likely it is that somebody like you will become rich and successful based on whether or not you have certain traits or psychological advantages. And this is exactly what you're about to learn. Number one, you're not that smart. This is going to be a bit controversial, but the truth is that a lot of people who become rich and successful really aren't all that smart, at least by the typical ruler that is used to measure intelligence. In fact, a large percentage of millionaires and billionaires actually dropped out of school and were considered to have lower than average intelligence when compared to kids who stayed in school. But what they don't tell us is that these guys may have been below average when it comes to general intelligence, but they were all hiding something far more valuable and far more important. And this is a different kind of intelligence. Being book smart and knowing all the things that happened in history is great, but this knowledge is never going to make you rich. But if anything has been proven to us time and time again, it is that knowing all there is to know about George Washington is not going to make you rich. And this is what you might call thinking inside of the box intelligence. People who finish school have massive amounts of this type of knowledge, and you could argue that they were born to take orders from somebody else. And many really smart people out there actually end up following the commands of the CEOs of the companies that they end up working for. And to be totally honest, you should try to be nice to them because they will most likely be your employees someday. Now, people who are not that smart typically have some unique trait about their personality, or what you might call an X factor, that allows them to discover money-making opportunities that most people miss. So if you're really not that smart, you are actually more likely to become rich sooner than later. Now next up is number two, and it's being an overachiever. Now be honest, how many of you, when you play video games, you don't like to finish just the standard storyline? Overachievers are those people who aren't satisfied with average, and they are simply not happy living a mediocre life. And since you clicked on this video, it is safe to say that you definitely have a little bit of overachiever in you. In fact, while most people are binge watching their favorite TV shows on Netflix right now, you're actually sitting here soaking up knowledge that will help you to become a millionaire in the near future. So think about what that already says about you. Overachievers are those of us who finished the game to 100% completion and then went back and finished the game on hard and extreme difficulty modes. Overachievers are those who are tired of being poor, tired of taking orders from other people, and tired of living a mediocre life because you know that you are destined for more. Now next up is the third sign that you are destined to become rich, and it is being unattractive. According to some studies, attractive people earn on average about 4% more money in their lifetime than those who are physically unattractive. But let's just be totally honest here. Whoever did this study didn't have a clue what they were talking about because they made a huge miscalculation. And what these studies never took into account is something called little dog syndrome, which among humans is nothing more than having something to prove. You see, all of us who weren't born with unfair physical attractiveness have something to prove, and we will always end up outworking those who were born with natural talent. Now, when you're not super attractive, or if you weren't born with rich parents to give you an unfair advantage in life, you better believe that being the underdog is going to make you stronger, more resilient, and in many cases, far more successful than those who were born with an unfair advantage when it comes to looks. Now, those of us who grew up poor, we have something that nobody else can ever take from us, and it's our drive to succeed. Sure, we're going to fall down a few times, but we always get back up and we always keep going until we achieve what it is that we set out to achieve. So if you are somebody who is below average in the physical looks department, feel better knowing that you are most likely destined to become rich because of it. Now next up is the fourth sign that your destiny is to become rich and successful, and it's being an action taker. So many of us come across opportunities every single day and we never take action on them because we prefer to sit back and wait for the right time. Now, a popular strategy for many of the world's most successful people is called ready, shoot, aim. And these three little words could mean the difference between winning and losing in life. Now, opportunities that can help us to become rich are all around us at any given moment if we can A, see them, and B, actually act on them. Oftentimes, opportunities come in the form of a brief moment of intuition or an idea that pops into our head after we see or hear something in the world around us. For example, a simple idea that I had one day while laying on my bed watching YouTube videos turned into a near $250,000 per year income stream in the form of a YouTube channel that I created a couple of years ago. And sure, there is always some luck involved, but the way that this happened was actually pretty simple, and it involved an idea popping into my head based on something that I saw on YouTube and then me acting on that idea immediately after it came into my head. And in fact, knowing what I know now, if I had just sat there and waited and not acted on the idea immediately, I truly believe that things would not have worked out the way that they did. And the reason why taking action immediately on an opportunity is so important is because of something called timing. In many situations in life, not just with money, whether or not you win or succeed really does come down to timing and whether or not you executed at the right moment or not. So if you're the type of person who takes action and seizes opportunities first and then you aim and calibrate later, you just might be destined to become rich. Now next up is number 5, and it's not being afraid of risk. Now traditional advice tells us to invest in long-term stocks or things that are really stable investments but take decades to pay off. And on the other hand, you have investments that most people would call risky, like a website, for example, that also have the potential for a far bigger reward. Now ask yourself this question. What actually involves the most risk? On one hand, you have working a safe job for low pay and investing every penny that you have into long-term investments while hoping that you actually live to see the return on those investments. Or on the other hand, you have starting a business that has the potential to actually make you rich while you're young so that you can truly enjoy what you've earned now rather than hoping that you live to be 65 years old so that you will be able to enjoy it at that time. Now keep in mind, I am not a licensed financial advisor, but the question that I just presented to you here is really just one of common sense. Now I would argue that the far riskier route is actually betting all of your money that you might become a millionaire by the time you're 65, as opposed to taking some calculated risks to start a business right now. Now, everything in life is a risk-reward proposition, and those who are most likely to become rich are those who are not afraid of taking calculated risks with their time and or money. Now next up is the 6th sign that the odds are in your favor for becoming rich, and it's focusing on earning rather than saving. So much traditional financial advice is based on saving your money over a long period of time, and it's also focused on living so frugally that all you're really eating is ramen noodles every day just so that you can give yourself a little cookie for saving an extra $150 per month. Now, in my personal experience, a greater focus on saving your money never really leads to getting rich. But what it does lead to is being able to brag to everyone around you that you have a lot of money saved up in your bank account. Now, the problem is that having money in your savings account is actually worse than spending it, because at least with spending it, you're getting something out of it instead of just letting it sit there in your account while your bank turns around and loans it back to you at 4% interest when you go to buy a house. Now, of course, people who are rich aren't out there constantly spending their money on trips to Dubai and exotic cars, but they're also not letting it sit in some bank account somewhere so it can be lent out a million times over. Now, if you're somebody who focuses more on finding more ways to earn more money or earn more income and not constantly looking for more ways to simply save it, then you have already won half the battle to becoming rich. And next up is the 7th and final sign that you just might be destined to become a millionaire, and it's being unpopular in high school. You're like, what? Now, it's true that there are studies out there that claim that if you were in the top 20% in terms of popularity in high school, then you will go on to earn 10% more money than those who were unpopular. Once again, there are so many different things that these studies did not take into consideration. And they didn't account for people like you or the outliers in society. And they didn't take into consideration the years of struggling and being poor that you've endured. And they didn't calculate the emotional pain and trauma that you've experienced as a result of living in poverty for most of your life. Now, when I look around at all the people I went to high school with, most of the popular kids have actually settled on a standard salaried job, living a standard mediocre life. And what about all the unpopular kids? What actually happened to them? What I've seen is that many of them, most likely as a direct result of being unpopular and as a result of struggling to fit in, actually went on to start incredibly successful businesses so that now they're able to make up for lost time. This has been 7 signs that you just might be destined to become rich. And with that said, I'm Julian, and until next time, thanks for watching.